Serious, what is a seemingly harmless parenting mistake that will majorly fuck up a child later in life? I found that when my parents teased me about stuff I was clearly uncomfortable with, it made me tell them less later in life. I have a good relationship with my parents, but I don't tell them lots about my life because it's easier if they don't know, tease about it. Same for me. It was usually mild stuff like, okay, MCU has a crush on a girl, or something like that. But I hated the attention and it made me uncomfortable. Later in my 20s when I met my wife, she couldn't understand why I was so secretive. I'm pretty sure it's from that. I just stopped telling people things and still don't tell my parents everything that's going on in my life. I love them of course and have a great relationship with my parents. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the teasing messed me up. That's exactly the shit I went through. Stuff about girls and all that, and now I tell people stuff on a need-to-know basis. This except instead of teasing. Worrying. My mom was always so worried about everything I did. I know it was because she loves and cares about me. But goddamn, can I go out one night without you thinking I might die? She still worries about stuff. There was a car accident in her neighborhood like a year ago in the middle of the night and she called me at 2 a.m. to make sure it wasn't me. I live like 30 minutes away. And there's nothing in her town for me to be over there unless I am visiting her, lol. My mom grew up with 6 brothers and 2 sisters. And she used to tease me about things I liked when I was young because she thought I needed to experience since I had no siblings. I think this had the opposite effect than she intended, since it caused me to stay friends with people who were condescending towards me because I just thought that was normal. Now I'm afraid to passionate about things she doesn't like. Never saying sorry to your kids. My mom only just recently started telling me sorry when she gets worked up. It's built up such a resentment for her over the years. And I also have trouble saying sorry myself because of it. Tell your kids sorry, especially if you overreact to something they did. This is my mum too. Sometimes it feels like she would rather jump off a cliff before admitting she was wrong and apologize. I'm sort of glad that my mom isn't the only one who acts like this. She's actually working on that issue. Since me and my siblings are older now and can call her out on it without many consequences. It just sucks because she only started working on it once I left for college. I wish she had told me sorry once when I was younger. My dad would apologize when he yelled at me as a kid, and it'd always make me understand why he did it. Shit made me feel bad too. That he got so upset that it made him feel shitty. My parents refused to apologize to me as apparently it's bad for saving face. I never thought about how this affected my own personality until now. I hate apologizing myself. It takes a lot of effort for me to admit I'm wrong and apologize, but I do it and I feel angry while saying it. This really fucks people up. Treating your young child as a friend you're venting to. It's extremely traumatic to be your parent's diary. There's a thing called covert incest, grossest name ever. Covert incest, also known as emotional incest, is a type of abuse in which a parent looks to their child for the emotional support that would be normally provided by another adult. Hey, can you please give an example of this? Is it like sharing serious family problems with a young child, or is it something else? Not following through with your promises. If you told your child you were buying ice cream tomorrow in the hopes that they'd forget, and the next day when they ask you tell them no, they'll see you as unreliable. Ice cream is just the first thing that came to my mind. I'm sure someone else can explain better what I'm trying to say here without sounding so ridiculous. Mine is an extreme case, but my mom left me when I was around 3 and started a new family shortly after. My entire childhood was filled with "I'll do XYZ," and she never would. She was most famous for "I'll pick you up tomorrow" or "I'll be there in X minutes," and just never show. She did this on my 5th birthday. I remember it so vividly. My dad got me up before dark. He got me all dressed, did my hair and took cute pictures with a little mermaid doll she had brought by a few days earlier. I was so excited. Then I went and sat on the front steps as the sun was coming up. I sat there all day long. I didn't want to move because I didn't want to miss her coming down the long driveway. Finally my dad's girlfriend told me it was nap time. 2 p.m. I said I couldn't take a nap, BC Mom might come while I'm sleeping. The way she told me, honey, I'm sorry but I don't think she's coming today, just broke me. I still went and sat back on those steps. She never came. I still trust no one. I'll never forget that day. I worry I'll never be right after years of her doing things like that. It was like a moment ingrained in my head as when my heart broke and was never the same. Always do your best to do what you say for your kids. I'm so sorry that you have these memories and this heartbreak. There are people out there that will treat you with the respect you deserve. And remember that you need to be one of those people too. I taught my children at very young ages that outside of extreme circumstances failing to keep a promise made is the same as telling a lie. Therefore, I won't make promises to them that I am not absolutely certain I can keep. They learned early in life that I take my promises very seriously and will go to great lengths to honor them. We have hit very hard times recently and I have had to delay delivery on some promises, which breaks my heart. But they know that I will fulfill those promises eventually and are much more empathetic and understanding than their peers have been in similar situations. The belief that they won't remember because they're young. I remember. I don't quite remember all the words my mom said to me, or all the specific things she did to me when I was younger. But I remember how she made me feel. That doesn't go away. Especially things that hold value to them. If you hurt them in any way, they remember. Otherwise we wouldn't have this thread. Never telling your child that you were wrong and that you're sorry. Just never once occurred. My father never once said I'm sorry to me. He was human. There were plenty of times he should have. My kids have heard from me plenty. Once my brother was sent to his room by my dad after they got into an argument about something stupid. I used Google to prove my brother right and we both were grounded for being disrespectful until he found out we were actually right. He never ungrounded us until the week was over and only told me he was wrong. Moral of the story: being right is disrespectful. I remember several occasions when my father would accuse me of doing something I shouldn't have. And a couple of times I was legitimately innocent. And I would say, I didn't do it, or some such thing. He'd counter with, are you calling me a liar? And I was pretty much fucked after that. There was no way I was going to get out of whatever punishment was heading my way. Dad was always right. Even when he wasn't. I feel like most of these responses fall under seemingly harmful. A seemingly harmless mistake is rewarding your child with something when they do something they already enjoy. Take, for example, reading. If a child just enjoys reading, let the child read without giving any reward. Once you start rewarding the child for that act, their intrinsic motivation gets replaced. It's called the overjustification effect. I was a kid who loved to read, still do, and whenever we participated in a program that rewarded reading hours, like the library summer program where you got raffle tickets and could win stuff like baseball and museum tickets, I felt like the most glorious scammer. Joke's on you. Pizza Hut. I would have done all that reading anyway. Suckers. I still remember that feeling. My third grade class won an award that for some reason was a comically large chocolate bar for having read the most books in a specific time frame. I walked home with a hunk of chocolate the size of my fist. The fools. I would have read that much anyways. Or worse. Rewarding with candy or sweets. Not only does it make behaviors that should be intrinsically rewarding behaviors extrinsically rewarded, it develops an unhealthy relationship with sugar, tying the idea of pleasure and value to sweetness. Once kids with that connection get old enough to buy their own sugar, they retain the connection and can simply reward themselves constantly, increasing the likelihood of developing disordered eating patterns. My parents rewarded me with sweets all the time. Even in preschool, their reading program was filling a bowl with candy and going through a workbook, giving me a candy every time I pronounced a word properly. I was an obese child and didn't lose weight until a few years after moving out. I'm using a similar program with my children. It was inherently a good program and taught me to read well before kindergarten. But I've replaced the candy with stickers. They love stickers. And they're harmless. Just waiting until, in 2040, we realize sticker addiction is the number 2 cause of death in young adults. In a different vein of thought, making finances a taboo subject. Financial illiteracy can be devastating once entering adulthood. Want to keep your children from making your own money mistakes? Don't be too proud to teach them what those mistakes were. On the same note, don't make your children feel like they're the source of all your financial woes. Talking about finances and complaining about finances are very different things. And don't keep on harping on how much you sacrificed for them and make it sound like they ruined your life. My wife's parents argued about money a lot when she was young. This led my wife to become agitated whenever budgeting was brought up. Lots of bad memories attached to talk of finances. It took several years before I even knew why she got angry whenever I brought up financial planning and going over the household budget. And another year or so before we could have a rational conversation about money. So don't write about money in front of your kids. Really shouldn't fight about anything in front of your kids. But do educate your kids on budgeting and being smart with money.